intro for this one. Alrighty guys, so the next video we're gonna watch is called I Solved the Trolley Problem. It is episode 6 on Mike Israetel's channel, and let's see what he solved.
Dr. Mike Israetel for the Mike Israetel Making Progress channel, and this is video number 6 in our Until We Get Cancelled series, and I have a proclamation. I solved the trolley problem from philosophy.
Alright.
Bold claim, sir. What is your evidence? Well, not only do I have evidence, I have a whole video that'll probably take way too long, so strap in. If you're in an airplane, you should be wearing your seatbelt already. And let's get into what the hell it is I mean. So what we're going to talk about today, what is the trolley problem? If you're not familiar, you can just Google it, but I'll absolutely explain. And then a section called Beyond Feelings, what is the goal outcome? Comparing immediate effects versus long-run effects toward a solution. And lastly, and importantly, who cares? Well, I care, and maybe you care too. So let's take a look. First up, what is the trolley problem? The trolley problem is a bit of a classical problem in philosophy, or it's a philosophical conundrum, and it's, I think, designed to expose your, at least a fraction of your moral values as an individual, and also get you to try to reason about your morality. There are quite a few variations of it, but it generally looks something like the following. You have a trolley that is unmanned, autonomous trolley, ahead of its time, and it's careened out of control, and it's just going down the tracks, and strange coincidence, but the direction into which it's going on the same tracks merely hundreds of meters away. That's right, meters. I'm an intellectual. Well, yes. 5 people are tied to the tracks. Heavens. But before the trolley gets to those 5 people, of course, pulverizing them instantly in what I assume is a relatively fast and pain-free death, but death either way, there is a connector track that can, with the pull of a switch, but not by itself, veer the tram or trolley or whatever the fuck it is into another track. And on that track, down which the trolley, very importantly, is not already heading, on that track, mere hundreds of meters down, one individual is tied to the tracks. I have no clue what kind of dastardly Batman 1930s era villain does shit like this. And it's clearly not a kid's cartoon. Well, maybe. No, actually, no, it's not. I'll get to that in a second. The hero of our story is no hero, really. It's just you. You are the person who is put right next to that switch. If you do not pull that switch, and you are not compelled to pull the switch, it's up to you.
Everybody says
the trolley will continue barreling
the one
down,
guy, right?
Crushing to death, slicing up like pizza 5 human beings. But if you crank the old rusty lever, cranked a few rusty levers in my day, you know what I mean, Scott the video guy? If you crank the lever, boom, boom, the trolley veers off course, saving those 5 people who were, in a sense, destined for death, but for literally your hand, and kills the one person who we assume would not have died. And within 5 minutes, the police would have shown up, some authorities anyway. Yeah. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority in New York, they would have shown up 16 hours later and untied the one person if he was still alive, if you didn't pull the switch. And if you did pull the switch, he would be dead, but the 5 people would be alive, and then they would get untied. It's a fancy schmancy way of making a couple of claims. Claim number 1 is that either 5 people die or 1 person dies. Claim number 2 is the default you do nothing about it scenario is that only 5, holy good God, I said that wrong, 5 people die. 5 fucking people. You do nothing, 5 people die. The next claim is that if you do something, 1 person dies, and here's the big small text under that claim, because you didn't set the trolley in motion. If you do nothing and 5 people die, you didn't kill them. Killed through an action, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Philosophically, we can get to that in another video, maybe never. For the purposes of this exercise, you can be like, hey, I didn't do anything, right? You name is, I didn't know the fucking lever worked, the fucking trolley, I don't know how this works. What the fuck was I supposed, how do I know this lever even fucking moves the thing? But if you figure out that the lever moves the thing, and you go, fuck, there's 5 people here, they're for sure gonna die, but if I crank this lever, it's gonna switch the tracks, and then this guy's gonna die, but I'm gonna save 5 people, but, and here's the big but, you are actively killing a person who, though curiously is tied to a fucking railroad track, is not destined for death. Your saving of 5 people must come at you in some philosophically literal sense, killing another person. But your not killing of the other person, you're like, whoa, fuck this, man. I'm out of this pay grade. You do that. You abstain. And 5 people die instead of 1. God damn.
Goddamn, so he very elaborately explained the situation. I think he did a good job. Everybody can understand. This question, I got asked this 2 times, I think, during my school career. And we never came to a conclusion. We would talk about it for a whole hour and then just discussing, right? Because there is no real answer. But because also, what the fuck are you supposed to say, right? Let's see what he's gonna say.
That's not the trolley problem summed up. Now, like, if I fuck this up or miss something, just hit me in the comments. Like, oh, Dr. Mike, you fucking moron. It's not the trolley problem. That's how I see it. So it is a philosophical conundrum designed to expose your values and try to get you to pick one of you. You have to pick one or two. You either pull the fucking lever or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And you either save 5 people or you save 1, sort of. Or really, you save 5 people by killing 1, or you let 5 people die by deciding you won't actively kill. That's the situation. It's not that complicated. Now, most people will get one of 2 types of feelings about this situation. Usually lots of people, if you do this in a classroom and you give out the trolley problem and the kids think about it, and after a while the teacher's like, all right, what do we think? Who's, is it good to pull the lever or do you not pull the lever? Someone will inevitably, representing a large fraction of the people in most cases, will be like, it's not okay for you to kill 1 person to save many. Killing is not okay. Because remember, the lever pull is an act of killing. And don't worry about legal consequences. Nobody's going to blame you. You save 5 people. Nobody's going to blame you. And if you didn't touch anything, what the fuck did you know? You're just an innocent bystander. So no legal consequences. It's moral only. It's what you sleep with at night and how you describe your actions.
Really good problem.
Someone is going to say it's not okay for you to kill 1 person to save many. Killing is not okay. If you pull the lever, you're wrong. Other people are going to say it is not okay to let 5 people, 5 whole fucking people, die if you have 6 people exposed to death potentially, just to only save 1 by inaction. Imagine how much if you say, well, I'm not in a killing, and then 5 people die, their family members could come up to you and look you in the eye and be like, you say you weren't in a killing, huh? You're like, yes. What the fuck is my dad doing? Cut in half. Like, well, I didn't kill your dad. Like, you had a chance to save him, didn't you? And you're like, well, yeah, but, Right. Most people are going to go one of 2 ways on that.
That's how our discussions went.
That's kind of how the situation is. How is each of these views in its own way valid? Let me lay it out. And please, as always, in the comments, let me know if I misconstrued anything or missed something. I'm not that smart. I might have just really fucked this up. How is each view above valid? Well, killing is fucked up and it's kind of wrong. So any way a person doesn't want to kill or let people come to harm, you can understand that, for sure. Actively killing an innocent person who would not have died but for your motion, because you flipped the switch or pulled a lever or whatever, is really, really a special case of fucked up. Like, you went out of your way, functionally, to kill someone, and like, maybe for a good reason, but you killed someone. And if you just stayed the fuck out of it, yes, 5 people would have died, but you killed no one. And that's important. But letting 5 people die when only 1 person could have, if you are into mathematics, as I'm a huge fan, that's 4 extra dead people. And if we really think death is fucked up, how do you square that? You think, oh, well, I'm not going to kill the guy. Death is fucked up, man. That's bad. Like, okay. So you're going to let 4 extra people die that didn't have to because you think death is bad? Explain that. And there's nuance. You could say, why killing is bad. And I'd be like, yeah, that trolley sure as fuck killed those people, and you could have stopped it. Like, oh, yeah, okay, right. Right. It's tough. I will say the problem is almost identical if you have a situation where, well, fuck, I won't get into it. That would have been politically suicide. I was going to talk about active shooters. I'm just going to fuck. Scott's video guy, we're going to leave that there. Leave this in for editing, but I'm not going there. In any case, that's all valid. There's nothing in there that's not invalid. But how is this whole analysis? And by the way, sorry, this analysis is about as far as most people get. Not an affront to most people. This is kind of when the bell rings at 10:55 and you go to trigonometry and you stare at that girl's ass, sit behind you. God damn.
That ass though.
Motherfucker. Shit. But you're so smart. You end up doing like 3-dimensional like calculus, inferential geometry, and like multiple topographical planes. And you're like, hello, Sandra, your ass actually has 3/4 of a gallon of volume per each ass. This is topographic analysis. And she's like, Mary, bitch, Mary, what the fuck? Just trying to bang. In any case, a lot of people just stop right at this point. And they're like, yeah, like I have feelings and my feelings are valid. And sometimes they go, look, I hear where you're coming from, but I think it's fucking wrong. And here's my whole thing here. How is this analysis that people do incomplete? It's just all feelings. Because usually the philosophy teacher or whatever wants to ask you what's right and what's wrong.
Ethics.
And the problem is there has been no goal condition set. It's very difficult to tell what's right and what's wrong when you think you do this, you're like, oh, I'm doing this right, and feelings, okay? I do this, other feelings, all right? I'm just like comparing feelings? Is that how you arrive at what's right or wrong? I sure should hope not. There's got to be a bit more complexity, a bit more nuance to it. How can you possibly solve the trolley problem if you have no goal set in mind? But maybe there is a goal, and maybe we can think this through. So the goal, seemingly universally agreed upon, is to reduce harm and to save life. And like, yeah, ideally not kill anyone, but we can all agree, maybe all of us, maybe most of us, maybe some of us, that like fewer dead people is probably a good thing. But killing is also really bad. Yes, for sure. But the goal is ideally to do as little killing as possible, preferably none, although none's not on the table here. And also save as many people as possible, preferably all, though that's also not on the table. Now, if you run the simulation only once, what is the correct choice? If you're pro-life, in the best sense of the word, like you like living better than dying and you think most people should be alive rather than dead. By the way, universal for healthy individuals. The easy choice, if you run the simulation only once, is you flip the switch and you save 5 lives by taking 1. I am uninterested in any debate on this. Feel free to take it to me in the comments. I likely won't respond because you got whatever bullshit you got as a rationalization or reason, and I got 4 extra alive people. Fuck with that. One time only simulation. There's not like, but what about, but what this, etc. But that's not really what people are trying to get you to get at with the trolley problem. It's a little bit of a, what's that called? I'm going to fuck this up. Like a Mott and Bailey fallacy, where they're like, hey, I'm talking about this thing, and you debate this thing. They're like, just kidding, we're debating this. It's not really that, but it's fucking close. The real situation, what trolley problem supporters really try to get out of you is your moral reasoning. And moral reasoning is designed to take an infinite number of future scenarios into account and apply the same heuristic rules to them. That's how moral landscape essentially evolved, is as a game theoretic approximation for what tends to maximize benefits in this situation. And that can be, if you have an understanding of what is a good thing and what is a bad thing, what is a good decision, bad decision, better decision, worse decision, you taking your moral reasoning can apply it to similar dilemmas in the future. So what they're really asking you isn't a one simulation at a time type of thing. It's like inevitably they, if you're the person that says, look, the answer to this question today in philosophy class to the trolley problem is you flip the fucking switch and you kill that one motherfucker to save 4 extra people, 5 people total. And inevitably someone's going to be like, would you really want to live in a world where an innocent life is taken for the group? And you're like, damn, no, maybe, no, that's fucked up. But that's a very different question. But exactly the question that if you prod enough at this trolley problem, you're going to get to. I would say that in such situations, a rational goal is the maximum group benefit in the long term. The rational goal for humans who are social animals and when they live isolated and alone without technology inevitably die/don't reproduce, so it's pointless. And even though that I'm politically really, really libertarian, the existence of the whole society is more important than any one individual in it. Because if the whole society dies, so does the one individual. But if the one individual dies, the society continues on, bereft of one potentially very important individual. So in the trolley problem, a good defense against being like, well, you support killing, we should all just be flipping switches and killing people who have nothing to do with something just to save others. Your retort can be, well, yes, if the maximum benefit to the group is the outcome. Now, all you libertarians, much like me, are probably throwing shit at the screen or snapping your phone in half and being like, fucking idiot. It's going to go back to communism. It's going to toast 30% of the people to help the other fucking 70%. This is fucking terrible. And I do agree with you on that. So now we have to talk about comparing immediate effects versus long-run effects. So I define the best conditions here to shoot for.
He said what he said, and now we have to justify,
thus the moral landscape of the people in it, as supporting life today, supporting life tomorrow, and for as long as possible into the future. And that last one of supporting life as long as possible in the future.
You know what makes it really, really, really hard is that you don't have any background of any of these persons. Is the one single guy, is he like a killer? A bad guy? Are the 5 guys a bad? You know, like, we don't have any traits, nothing. So we are going solely by what Mike says. The outcome for the benefit of the group, or in this case, like us as a society or us as a whole, right? So it's an excellent problem. It is such a crazy problem. And you never get to a conclusion, right? Unless you say you kill 1 to save 5. That is so rough. What do you think? I mean, I have to agree. I just have to agree. How can I justify it the other way around? Man, it's a numbers game, and it's a horrible numbers game. I can't even, however I want to explain or justify my standpoint, it sounds terrible. I can't even get myself to say it. It is a horrible situation.
Is almost defined as and best fueled by progress. The whole fucking point of this whole channel. I want progress. I want a solution to the trolley problem that makes life better as far into perpetuity as possible. Now, of course, tomorrow also, and then into the future ad infinitum.
He puts value on each of them.
What kinds of things do we have to consider
and 5 have more value than 1?
Problem-like scenario, if we're going to take it way too seriously for the fucking bullshit philosophy 101 thing, which is exactly why you're watching this channel. You're into shit like this, apparently.
Each of them has the same amount of potential.
What kind of things do we have to consider to solve the trolley problem for long-term progress? Because that's a hell of a fucking cudgel to wield in a debate. Because someone's like, well, I think your solution's fucked up. They're like, yes, but it also supports long-term progress. And they're like, would you really do this fucked up thing for progress? Yes, I would. But what progress, by definition, is better than not progress.
If you go at him with this question and you basically looking down on him, what are you standing for? To kill 5 people to save 1? You say, oh, but you didn't intervene, you didn't flip the switch. Motherfucker, you could have flipped the switch. It's the same as if you flipped the switch. In my book, at least, and I hope in your book as well. Because that is absolutely the fact. If you know, you can flip the switch. The question is not you didn't know or what it's gonna do. No, you know, you are next to the switch. That is the problem. That is the issue that is at hand. It's the same. Flip or not flip. You decide.
And whatever you have on the other side versus progress probably loses if you think it through. Generations of people after you were born, trillions of humans living the most beautiful lives possible, but you're willing to shit it away because feelings. Valid feelings. Feelings that make a good point. But against progress, I'm not so convinced that there is a better alternative. What do we have to consider? I made a list of...
So true.
At least 2 things. Gee, I thought that list was going to be longer. I scrolled through, and it just wasn't that long. This stems from the question of the, make-believe girl in the corner of the class that says something like, so you think it's okay if society just, killed 1 person to save 5 people? This is the answer to her question, more or less the rest of this video. Whether I think it's okay or not depends on at least two things. First, what institutions and processes choose how and when the switch is flipped. For example, if God flips the switch, he's God, he's right every single time. God toasts a fucking million people and you're like, God's plan, God's will, must have been good in the long term. God works in mysterious ways, legit. If you accept the notion that God exists and is all-powerful, etc., then you can't really argue with the shit he does. If humans do it with no rule-based constraints, like Vladimir Putin currently invading Ukraine, get at me about that in the comments, humans are going to likely play favorites, and we know from history about every single time, or pretty close, that it almost always ends in tyranny and chaos and fucking hell. You give some humans the unfettered power to kill at will or to choose who lives and dies with no institutional constraints. Yeah, like we're all in like one giant hunter-gatherer tribe, and that does not end well. And it continues in perpetuity, also not well. So it's important that who chooses and how that choice is made to whether or not progress continues at a high level, at a low level, or not at all, or regression occurs. Second thing to consider, at least, and there may be more things to consider, but these are at least the only two I came up with. How does knowledge by the public, all of the calculus, all of the institutional constraints, who's making the decision and how does that change their behavior? For example, if I know that the government can kill me anytime it wants to save 2 other people, and for sure 3 and 4, fuck, I'm dying definitely, fuck that, I'm leaving. Every time this happens in the world and there's remotely open borders or not even, people run. If they're, anytime you have fascist governments, communist governments, psycho monarchies, where they're just like, hey, like, we're going to have this war and a third of you are going to go fight it. People fucking like rats off a sinking ship. And it really is a sinking ship. So what kind of fucked up place do you have to live in where like, you don't know if your life's going to continue tomorrow? Like
because of
just
something that
sacrifice you
somebody
just to save
says.
2 other people. What are we, ants or bees? Like, and look, hey, maybe, look, I'm not here to judge. Maybe that's the way you construct a perfect society. But human beings have some semblance of will, and they just don't want to stick around for that shit. So at the very least, they'll be very upset, and they'll try to leave. So toward a solution here, we want to flip the switch and save as many people as possible, or not flip the switch and save as many people as possible. But we need to constrain the power to flip the switch and to make the condition of when we do or do not flip the switch very well defined. Because if they're very well defined, everyone knows what the condition is, and there is a very much smaller chance that it will be controversial in the sense of like, well, why did he do that? Why did they kill those people? Like, you know exactly why. Here was the procedure. And you want to make them such that the individuals don't feel disempowered enough to leave your society or become insanely antisocial. So if the conditions of switch flipping is like, well, if we can save as many as 2 people for every 1 we kill, we're going to toast you. Holy shit, I don't think a lot of people are sticking around for that or maintaining their any degree of civility or, social brotherhood. And social cohesion falls, your whole society's fucked anyway. Time and time again, society with no social cohesion, like if everyone you're looking at is like, is this the next motherfucker? They're gonna, am I being sacrificed for this asshole here? And is this the politician that flips the switch? Fuck all these people. Fuck that. This is not sustainable. So if the rule base or the rate of killing is high enough, it just doesn't work. And it leads to less progress or just not any progress at all. From prior history, on degrees of government control over civil liberties, we know something pretty well, and that's people value their own lives a lot. Saying like, hey, you got to sacrifice for the greater good is cool and all, but IRL, most people aren't down with that shit. And if they are, it's going to be in some esoteric way where they get to choose to do it, not in a way where somebody else gets to choose to do it. Like, it's cool, and I really mean this. It's fucking baller to pick up a weapon and go to war for your country and for your values and for your family. But like, if someone just hands you a fucking weapon, like Putin is doing in Russia right now, and goes, hey, shut the fuck up and go to war, and you're going to die, but sweet, you did it, thank you. Most people aren't into that sort of thing. Very, very unpopular. So we might say something like this as a first proposal. We only flip the switch if there's a 1,000 to 1 group to individual cost or higher. Like if 999 people are like, help us flip the switch, and there's 1 person on the other track, you're like, nope, 999 people dead. But as soon as it's 1,000 people, and they're like, help us, and the guy on the other track's like, Jesus Christ, don't kill me. You're like, sorry, Jim, and you kill him. That's our cutoff, just as a start. It's a thought experiment. And you put a couple conditions, the constraints. And the constraint's like, we only flip the switch if the problem is imminent and all other attempts at sparing all lives have been exhausted. Because when I was in high school, what I would answer trolley problems, why don't we just untie these fucking people or take a fucking rocket and blow up the trolley? What the fuck is wrong with you? But that's not the point of the exercise.
Yeah.
So, if you can accomplish something without sacrificing a shitload of people, it's probably the best answer than accomplishing something similar but having to sacrifice a lot of people. Like, at one point during the Great Leap Forward in China, Google it, but don't do it around your kids. Don't read it out loud. People were starving because the communists fucked up the food supply. Oops, accident. And people would trade children in the same village. Like, I get your kids, you get mine, to eat them so they didn't starve. They couldn't bear to eat their own fucking children. Bit of a trolley problem. I mean, clearly the solution is just don't instantiate fucking communism and everyone can eat and live like most of the rest of the world was doing at the time. This is the 1960s, by the way, so nuts. We don't want to have to do this unless it is two things. Imminent, like this is happening now. Like we got to fucking, it's like, another way to think about it is this. The terrorist with the fucking trigger for a mini nuke that's going to destroy a whole skyscraper and toast 1,000 people at the same time is about to do it and a sniper doesn't have a clear shot. It's actually way better than the fucking trolley problem. And he has to bust through some fucking innocent lady's head on floor number 3 of the building next to it to fucking, to get that fucking sniper. It's a 50 cal round. It's close enough that she's just going to get the fucking air cone is going to blow her face into 50 different pieces. But the terrorist dies and he doesn't flip the button and we save 1,000 people. If he doesn't have this finger on the trigger, if we don't even know that he has a nuke, or we know, but we don't know where it is, and he's not like, oh, fuck, I'm going to do it. We're not shooting anybody. We're not killing anybody. And if there are any ways to spare the lives, like shooting the terrorist instead without having to kill an innocent person on the way, we're all ears to that. But just as a policy, we'll say this is our policy. And it's 1,000 to 1. Remember that number, 1,000 to 1. You instantiate this as a policy into your fake pretend society as a thought experiment. You announce it to all the people. This is what's happening. This is how the decision process is made. Let's say, that the FBI and the local police and the president of the United States has to give the authorization, and all of those are democratically elected bodies or democratically appointed bodies, and everything is, all institutional constraints are good. People feel like they approve of this sort of thing. Once you instantiate that, this is the policy. If it's 1,000 to 1 plus, we're going to toast you.
Nice spicer.
If it's 1,000 to 1 minus, we're not killing innocent people that have nothing, innocent bystanders. We're not doing that. So like if the terrorist has 900 people in the fucking skyscraper and the sniper's like, I don't have a shot, the lady's in the way, they're not going to be like, take the shot anyway. Good luck with your nightmares. They're just going to be like, okay, hold. And he's like, boom, whole skyscraper goes and the sniper's like, God damn it, no. Although with most sniper rifles, you probably can't unload multiple rounds. Also, if you have 50 cal and you point it up, hopefully there's nobody on the floor above you or concrete doesn't fall and kill you. In any case, you guys know what I mean. If once you instantiate this is the policy, this is the rule, over time, you attempt to measure in the society a few things. One is social cohesion. Ever since you instantiated the 1,000 to 1 rule, compared to before, let's say the rule was a 1 to 1, if you just arbitrarily want to save one person, you can kill another person. How is social cohesion? Are people like more leery, like, motherfuckers, anyone here?
Wir können auch Deutsch.
Fuck you, I'm never dying for you assholes. Or are they like, I love it here, and honestly, like if the government has to toast my ass to save a bunch of other people, like I'm gonna die anyway, might as well die saving 1,000 fucking people. Something like that. And that's gonna change depending on what the number is. Like 1 to 1, good luck. Good luck getting anyone to buy into that shit. 1 to 2, fuck God, communist China was like 7 to 1 or something like that. Lost a decent fraction of the population. I don't know if it's 7 to 1. It was high. Social cohesion, you measure that. Somehow, it doesn't matter how you measure, but let's just assume you can measure something like this. You can measure public and private responses to tragedies like this. A response to the tragedy, for example, 900 people get blown up and the sniper doesn't take the shot. And the news media covers it all and the sniper's got a fucking head cam and everything. And you're like, well, what was the public response? Like if the overwhelming public response was like, fucking God, what the fuck is wrong with us? Why didn't you take the shot? And you're like, well, we have this 1,000 to 1 policy. Like, fuck that policy. You're like, okay, well, so what you mean is like 900 people is totally like enough. Like, yes. And then you go, well, how many people does it end at? Is it 10 to 1? And they're like, yes. And is it 1 to 1? They're like, yeah, wait, no, I don't know. And it turns out they have a lot of feelings, but that response matters versus a response of like,
it's so rough.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Terrorism is fucked up. We got to stop these terrorists instead of worrying about who to snipe. Like, it's good that they didn't shoot that innocent lady, man, because that would have been, in a sense, the terrorists really win if she dies, And any number, a range of responses, both public and private. You can find out what people really think. You're like, look, like, yeah, like, in public, I hate the whole thing. In private, like, I mean, fuck, man, I really kind of wish they killed that fucking lady, dude. This fucking 900 people are dead. Or people in private, just a range of answers here, it'd be like, Yep. In public, they're like, yes, the greater good, the greater good. And in private, they're like, dude, what the fuck kind of dystopian fucking world are we living in? And they should have never shot that fucking lady. She was just fucking watching TV. All of a sudden, this terrorist wasn't even trying to kill her. He was trying to kill those other people. And what the fuck? You also, post-tragedy, pre and post, you compare economic output and immigration results, pre and post instantiating this policy, and of course the tragedies that occur because of it, or tragedies that occur and you attempt to ameliorate them with this policy. You know, if generally the society is humming along really great, it sucks. It's an interesting way to approach a solution. But remember, there's no inherently right or wrong here. It's all on the margins. It's all what creates the best progress for everyone, because that's what the ultimate most important thing is. And of course, like immigration results is like, if you say, hey, like we have a 10-to-1 rule and half your country leaves because they're like, fuck that, this goddamn Squid Games episode, I'm out. Then you're like, yeah, clearly this is not sustainable and this is the wrong answer, because most of your value comes from the human beings that live in your society. If a bunch of them leave, worse society. And remember, economic output is, I want to make a point to say this, and I'll have videos on this later. Economic output isn't like, oh, fucking dollars over lives, man, greed. Well, it turns out that dollars are lives, because you can push dollars towards life-saving cancer medicine for that fucking 6-year-old who got fucking cancer, or you can have not enough dollars and he just fucking dies in his bed. Money is life. Money can be pushed to various things to save more lives or fewer lives. And if you just take money and just crush it all out, and I don't mean physical money and I don't mean currency, I mean value. Then if we are all bereft of value, we're standing completely fucking naked out in the goddamn cold because your house is valuable and so are your clothes. So money represents that. Money is the root of all good. Yes, I do have fucking Ayn Rand tattoos. I do have a nuanced view on Ayn Rand. Get in the comments and yell at me about that. I'm sure I'll make a video about that later. But economic output is insanely important. Insanely important. And it is not a trade-off of lives versus economic output. Because lives on here is lives. Economic output is in money. We can do math, which insurance companies do all the time, by the way, and economists do all the time. Brian Kaplan's a good person to read about, has some calculations for COVID stuff. It turns out money also equals lives, and you can just compare. Facts. It is more nuanced than that base comparison.
I can see that.
There's a lot there.
Absolutely.
The next thing you could do is do focus groups or polling or whatever it is, some kind of democratic mechanism to try to arrive at like, okay, you guys really didn't like it when we killed that one lady with the sniper rifle to save the 900 people. When should we kill the lady? Is it just we've never killed a lady? Because again, like 1 to infinity could be the policy. Like there's not a number of people that we are interested in saving to ever kill an innocent person. The authorities will never kill an innocent person under any circumstance. That's totally cool. It runs into some other problems we'll talk about in a bit, but whatever value the people say on average, and you sort of move it on the margins, right? And of course, you go and analyze how that decision was made in each case via postmortem. Like the president gets a call and it's Joe Biden, and they're like, hey, like, what do we do? Like, we got 1,000 to 1 people here, and our sniper has a clear shot. This guy's got a trigger. What do we do? And Joe Biden's like, Mom, and you're like, oh my fucking God. And the guy presses the shit in the nukes, and they're like, all right, President Biden, we'll call you back in a sec. A lot worse news on the way. Maybe the process was off.
God.
How the decision was made. So you do a postmortem, and you try to fine-tune the diligence of the decision, the precision of the decision, and you try to reduce as much oversight problem and as much corruption as possible over time. So what you're doing is, whether you chose 1,000 to 1 as the ratio you're okay with, and you're not okay with anything that you're tolerating in this extreme dire circumstance, or 10,000 to 1,
experiment.
you can work on the margins by executing this process of measurement over time and iteration. You measure what's going on, say the 1,000 to 1's not working. Seems like people want more like 1,500 to 1. You instantiate that, you let it run in our society where we turn the clock faster than linear time. We see how all the effects, the economy, the progress, the prosperity, the happiness of the people, the social cohesion, the immigration, blah, 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 blah. And we see how that ends up affecting progress. And we optimized for the most lives saved, of course, and also the prosperity of the society saved via continued cohesion and all that good stuff. So if someone says, if you're saying, look, you put this to someone, you're like 1,000 to 1 is like my guess. And if someone asks you like, wow, do you really just kill that one innocent person to save 1,000? You can be like, yes, I did. And they go, well, isn't that fucked up? And you go, yeah, it's really fucked up. And they go, well, yeah, can't we do better? And you go, yeah, maybe. What? How do you think? They do the math. They do the iterative society experiment in their head a bunch. Let's say they're super intelligent. And they come really close to the same decision that you came to, where 1,000 to 1 really is the calculus. And they end up making the same choice. Like, yep, they would pull the trigger. And they go, this is still fucked up. And you go, yeah. But it's the least fucked up it can be given the situation.
Ooh, that's right.
Because remember,
it's the least fucked up.
There is no real solution to the trolley problem as presented, as a thought experiment, which isn't fucked up. And I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make with the trolley problem, is they try to find the solution that's not fucked up at all. And like, if you're like, I'm gonna kill one person to save 5, that's easy math. Fuck. You're like, Jesus Christ. Bet you wouldn't be saying that if you had to be the one to pull the trigger. You're like, yeah, hell yeah, I would. Fuck that person. Like, you should be in jail just to make sure you don't kill anyone. Or how many people have you killed? Like, it's fucked either way. But there's a lot of shit in life that's fucked either way, but there's degrees of fucked. And it is important for us as humans who want better things than worse things to, of course, choose better versus worse. But also sometimes that's on the plus side of the spectrum. There is a minus side of the spectrum. And on the minus side, you choose the least fucked up versus the most fucked up. And I know it's icky as fuck. It's icky as fuck. Don't worry, there's plenty of shit on the channel. We're going to have future videos that's at least as icky. But that's real life. Dr. Mike, this is a progress channel. Okay. All right. So who gives a shit? Seriously, who cares? Who cares about all this stuff? It seems like the trolley problem is just reserved for like nerd philosophy majors that don't have sex with anyone to chat over like Friday night beers events. Like, technically speaking, Plato wasn't even sticking to the Platonic ideals. Someone just turns around and punches him in the face and goes, I had that coming. Is that the only people that care? If you use unmoored moral absolutes that are really just you having a lot of feelings, 100% it is absolutely just for nerd philosophy people. And I'm even insulting nerd philosophy people because they even use more logic than that. But there is a grain of value in this problem and thinking about it. It's an important problem that allows us to do a couple of things. It allows us to consider short and long-term outcomes. Remember, like, if we run the problem once, do you like 5 dead people or 1 dead person? Like, I don't like death at all. Like, I got you. What do you hate more, 5 dead people or 1 dead person? Anyone who's like, well, it doesn't matter to me is a lunatic. Run. 5 is worse. 5 dead people is worse. Short-term versus long-term is a big deal because we don't iterate this once. We iterate it many times. It allows us to find out what worse and better outcomes on the net balance may look like with various decisions. It allows us to practice developing and thinking through a policy that attempts to yield closer to better, or in this case, further from worse outcomes. It allows us to understand that the way you get to better decisions in real life is not just armchairing them in philosophy class and just mega one-size-fits-all proclamations that rule-based, that you need to rethink and remeasure and marginally modify the policy you have chosen over time to get better and better results over time, or in this case, less worse and less worse, or whatever, less bad. This kind of approach that I've just illustrated here, that whole thinking about, okay, well, what kind of effect would it be if we instantiated this policy and it ran over time in a bunch of different societies and we chose which one this caused the worst stuff in, which one it causes the best, how do we alter the policy? This thinking through it type of thing is, in my view at least, humbly, a lot more productive than saying shit like, should never sacrifice life for another. Like, it feels cool to say in like a Braveheart type of way, but it just doesn't make the most sense. It just doesn't make the most sense. Now, there are ways to make this problem much more complex. For example, I can think of at least 3. First, you consider existential scenarios. Your society is not composed of the 5 people on the fucking trolley rails. Question could be like, how many people do you kill if it means saving the whole society? The whole fucking thing. Everyone. What about all of humanity? How many people do you send to the mines for plutonium, where they die in these terrible conditions we just don't have time to fix, to get enough enriched plutonium? Plutonium is actually artificially constructed. Fuck, uranium. I should have stuck with that. Uranium mines, people are dying to try to enrich enough uranium to make a bunch of high-yield weapons, or 1 mega weapon, to shoot into an Elon Musk-powered rocket at the fucking mega asteroid coming for us. And it's coming, and it's going to be here. It's going to fucking kill us all. Are you going to say, no, we shouldn't be sending nobody to the mines. Let's all die. Word up. I do respect your moral consistency.
Reminds me on the Chernobyl
But
miners.
if you were living in my society, I'd be like, pause. I'll volunteer to go to the fucking mines, you insane asshole. Let's get some people living. Look, if we're all going to die anyway, we might as well go to the fucking mines, some of us. And then at least some people are volunteering. And at the end of the day, if you're in charge of the society, not enough people volunteer, you might have to do some really sin-eaty, fucked up shit, like sending people to the fucking mines. You build a whole monument afterwards for all these people sacrificed, and as soon as you're done being leader and the asteroid's destroyed, you resign and you go commit seppuku Japanese style because you're not worthy of life anymore. And there's a monument for you too. That could be a thing. Very, very similar type of logic, a lot of constraints, different scenario. Another way to see it, more complex, probabilistic reasoning. So if you save 1 person in the scenario, you have a 67% chance, not 100% chance, of saving 10 people. Sorry, I said that wrong. If you kill 1 person, you have a 67% chance of saving 10 people. And that doesn't mean that if you draw on the other side of chance, that 6.7 people get saved. One guy just like lobs off a third of his body. He's like, I'm cool. What that means is 33% of the time or whatever, you flip the switch, the guy dies, and then the people fucking die too. But more like 2/3 of the time you flip the switch, the one guy dies, and then 10 people are saved in their entirety. Ooh, that's intense because there's no certainty anymore. Shit, makes the trolley problem original style easy as fuck.
Wait, what does he mean by that?
You guys are thinking it. I'll say it.
What does he mean by that? Because they die of natural cause? Oh, how do they die? I don't get it.
Who are the people? That's another layer of complexity. A lot of people will ask that as the first intro to the trolley problem.
Yeah, are they bad guys,
who are
good
the
guys?
people? And it's kind of fucked up because it's like, well, like, is it like an ethnic group you don't like? It's not your ethnic group. Is it a religious group you don't like? Is it your religious group that you would save and the other group that you would toast? Yeah, that's easy stuff. I mean, easy in the sense of like, okay, fine, I know people think like that at times and have in history a lot.
Do they have family?
And you could say, look, I'm not the person to think like that at all.
You can
I don't give a
insert
fuck if you're
whatever
Muslim,
you
Hebrew,
want.
Christian, black, white,
Insert
Asian.
any trigger.
I'm not sacrificing anybody for anyone. I'm not pulling that fucking lever. Respect. Totally cool. But there are other ways people differ. Ways that maybe you still valid saying you wouldn't pull the lever, but maybe not as transparently valid. Our one guy who you pull the lever to kill to save 5 people is Albert Einstein. Or pick anyone you think is fucking awesome. Jesus Christ.
So their contribution to the society would be
Albert
greater
Einstein.
than 1 of 5?
Norman Borlaug, who through the Green Revolution or whatever, and with wheat, basically close to GMO wheat, probably allowed 1 billion extra humans to populate the earth. Maybe one of the best people of all time. The guy that invented fucking the wheel or some shit. Important ass people that gave unbelievable good.
Guy who invented the wheel. I think the next guy would invent the wheel if that guy would die.
That's the motherfucker on one side.
Like a day later.
You pull the lever, he dies. But if you don't pull the lever, the trolley kills 5 violent rapist serial killers. Now, it's totally cool to be like, look, I do not take life. I'm not pulling it. And the fucking rapist serial killers get killed. And you're like, no harm, no foul. It's also totally cool if we flip the script and say we got 5 Albert Einsteins, and then we got a rapist serial killer. And as you are not going to pull the lever, there's a group of like 3 6-year-old girls standing very close to rapist serial killer. And the trolley is going in there, and you're like, I don't pull the lever. And for the 5 Albert Einsteins are about to die. But the rapist serial killer guy, like his ropes are coming undone, and he's like slobbering, just waiting to fucking rip these girls into pieces in the worst possible way I cannot describe on YouTube because we'll get canceled. He's gonna do terrible shit again. He's saying he's gonna come here, girl, and he's coming apart. He's gonna go. If you flip the switch, he fucking dies. He doesn't kill anymore. The girls are safe. Albert Einstein's safe. It's all good. So if you really, really think you'll never pull the lever, I submit to you that there are scenarios in which you may be tempted to pull the lever, and maybe you still resist. But fucked up shit happens because you resist. Negative things happen because you resist. And maybe you're cool with that, but maybe you're not. Interesting food for thought.
But I mean, the moment you know what the one serial guy is gonna do, if it's the one, only one, the moment you know he's gonna do that to the girls, I mean, it's like, you gotta kill him. Because that way, you're gonna save the girls. That's just if you know it, right? So many factors going into this, it is absolutely crazy.
Thought. The answers to these questions, even the complex ones, will always come from the same methodological process we just used in the original trolley problem. You have to clarify the goal, the long-term outcome, whatever it is. And sometimes you just ask the person, like, well, what goal are we going for here? But my goal always is progress, so I just put that one in there. Progress, do it. You have to consider constraints and indirect effects. Who's making the decision? How are they making it? How will the people in society behave based upon that decision? You calculate a proposed decision, or proposed solution, based on all the calculations thereof, just mentioned. It will still be brutal because brutality is unavoidable in this scenario, but maybe it'll be your best guess at what is the least brutal of all the decisions.
At least fucked up.
You measure the consequences in some way, attempting to measure them well, and iterate on the margins, changing the scenario and your actions and the paradigm of who gets to choose and how many people we're going to trade off toward what you think is the best solution based on your point number 1, clarified goal. because you do have a goal. You have a way to measure what is the solution ideally, and whatever gets closest to that is your tentative best guess. You iterate until you get close to the limit of how well you can do. Over the course of this channel, from now on, in many scenarios and many videos, we're going to examine a zillion controversial issues. And we're going to use something like this approach to figure out what the best bet is to do. What is the best move forward for us as a society? Should we have a prison sentence for people that have been found carrying illegal weapons on their way to a school? How long should that prison sentence be if we have one? People who have been pedophiles before, are they always pedophiles? Do we lock them up forever? Do we just fucking kill them all? Or is that something you can be cured of? Well, we have to define our terms clearly, have various proposed modes of action, various policies. And obviously, we're going to do this with much lighter stuff like, should nuclear power be a thing? How much regulation should we have in medical technology field, pharmaceuticals? And should we flip the switch on letting AI just fucking go, or should we not? Or how do we think about it? All of this because progress, sorry, I got to scratch my quad. Progress is our goal on this channel. And if progress isn't your goal, dope. Hit me up in the comments, tell me why. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. But if progress is the goal, this is a good way to think about it. Define the goal, in this case, that's progress. Consider the policy you want to instantiate to try to get the best possible outcome towards progress. Understand that you have to consider the constraints of that policy institutionally. Who gets to execute it is very important, and how is very important. Examine the indirect effects, like could be a good policy, but people just don't cooperate. That's like the big downfall with socialism and communism. Same thing, by the way. Same thing. Get me in the comments about that. They're like, well, yeah, it's great theory if you're dealing with non-humans and non-rational actors. So turns out that failed. Indirect effects are important. And then how that solution is caricatured or constructed, and then you try to model and simulate how that will go, at least thinking through it in your head. Potentially with studying various actual effects of society, which, by the way, every single policy we have right now is already going. You say, oh, this is brutal to do in real life. It's happening right now. The police have a policy of who to shoot when and who not to shoot. It's already a thing. And police in Minnesota and police in California and police in Idaho have slightly different policies. And using statistical techniques and enough data of a lot of police across the country, we can come to a decent understanding, better than nothing, better than a gut feeling of, man, that's just fucked up, of what the consequences are of various leanings and iterations of policy. And then we try to learn as much as we can through evidence and logic and reasoning, thinking not only of what's the effect today, but what's the effect tomorrow and the day after and in perpetuity. What sort of things does this policy, if we change it to this way, set up that the original policy set up to go this way doesn't actually lead to? We consider that, and then we make the best choice that we possibly can and redo that entire experiment. And so we'll be doing that a whole bunch on the channel. If you're not into that kind of shit, at least I'll make some shitty jokes. See you guys next time.
Damn, dude.
Heart disease, gone. Cancer, gone. Hey, folks.
Let's see the comments here. The 5 people live with only partial range of motion. Oh god. I love this video. Oh my god, I don't know, dude. Like, don't ask me. Just don't ask me about this. The essence, the very essence of the problem is the hardest. Do you kill 1 to save 5? Do you kill 5 to save 1? In my opinion, the option of I'm not doing anything does not exist. It does not exist because, you know, man, this has to be it has to be much more clear if you know that switching it actually saves these people or not. Because the moment you know that you are able to decide who lives, there is not only 2 ways anymore. There's actually 3. Fuck my fingers. There's not only 2 ways anymore. There's immediately 3 ways, and the train is going the middle way, and you decide if it goes left or right. There is no, I don't differentiate there. There is, forget about it. You are never gonna be able to tell me I'm not gonna do anything about it. If you know that you can have an impact on the outcome, It's you. You are the one who decides. But the very essence is the most hardest here, because you don't have any information. Like, are these guys bad guys people? Are these guys good people? Is it an Einstein, like he says, right? The more information you got, the more you're gonna probably be inclined to one option or the other. So that is the toughest question, man. And a really, really good question. That's how you get to see people's real colors, right? Their emotions, rather. And it's full of emotions. It's just full of emotions. I'm honestly leaning towards Mike's decision of saving 5 people and having to sacrifice one. It is all fucked up, but this is the least fucked up. But then man, then you're gonna talk to this one guy's family, and what are you gonna tell them? How are you gonna reason that with them? Their emotions are gonna be bigger than anything that you can tell them, than any reasoning you have. And you're gonna feel like a piece of shit, dude. So it's a horrible situation. Just a situation. Like, who the fuck? Who the fuck comes up with this, man? This is genius. And just so terrible. He made a bunch of good points. And all the aspects that you have to consider and everything, socially, even down to monetarily, right? It's a really tough one, dude. I'd like to know what you guys think. Honestly, I'm leaning towards Mike's decision of having to sacrifice one to save 5. But it would feel so bad. Afterwards, I would seppuku probably. No, man, this is horrible. So yeah, thanks for watching and let me know what you think, guys. I think that's for now. We gonna come back tomorrow. Tomorrow we might be playing some Red Dead. And there's gonna be a bunch of work to be done for sure. Yeah, we'll see what comes. All I know is Wednesday is gonna be pool day, so we're gonna have a workout. Sacrifice 1 for 5. Neither is optimal, but that's the least shitty for sure. Man, it's all about the least shitty because everything is shitty. That is so true. Because life is just shitty. And it's all about making the least shittiest decision. Yo, Maurice, thank you for your comment, man. Thank you, dude. I wish to talk more about this, but it's getting very late, and I think Mike said it best. Like, there's nothing more to add to this. I just would like to hear more from the opposite team, actually. Like he said, this one make-believe girl. So you think it's good to sacrifice one for other people? That's like, man, oh my god, dude. I like how he goes about these things. He's like a free-thinking communist Democrat. But that is so good, actually. You have to be a Democrat in order to value the opinion of other people. You have to think as a communist in this sort of a situation for the greater good right? And also you have to be free because it has to come from within you. Yeah, I know, man. I know it's not good. I know, man. I know, and it hurts. Anything, anything you come to, any decision you do is bad, and it just hurts. It's never good, but it's the least shitty. Oh fuck! Oh, I love this, dude. I love this. Oh man. Yeah. Maris, if you know these 5 people are bad people, and you didn't know anything about the one person, what would you do then? Let's make it even more like if you know these are rapists, killing children, still the one? Oh, you said it's really fast. What if they are uncurable? Beast rapist. You have to look for the long term for the outcome of the society. They're not going to provide anything. Then it becomes a question of solely, are you able to decide over somebody's life? All of these morality questions, man. How am I going to go to sleep now? This shit is crazy. Well, the one is unknown, yes. Then I would do the 5. I think so too. Oh god. Oh no. Oof. Yeah. We're gonna upload this one to YouTube, dude. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for hanging out.